Hello everyone. I think in the last video we showed you how to install VirtualBox and then how do you create a virtual machines for installing Server 2008, and then we showed you how to install Windows 2008, and we did a bit of basic configurations on after installation, such as um, giving IP address to the server and giving a server name, and that's it. And now in this video what we're going to do is we're going to create similar one more virtual machines, and we're going to install Windows 7. So let's start with this. Here we have our shortcut link for VirtualBox. So let's start. And as you see, we have created a virtual machine last time and we installed Windows 2008 in that. So we think is going to be same thing. We're going to do the same thing, but we're going to install now Windows 7, which is going to act like a client. Now you can install as many server as you want and as many client as you want. It's just remember one thing, that your resources, meaning like amount of RAM, amount of hard drive, processor. So if you have a Core i7 and if you have 16 GB RAM, so you can create like 3-4 processor along with 3-4 client, and they can run simultaneously. Now you can create as many server as many client virtually, but at a time make sure, depending on your RAM, depending on your process power, try to run minimum number of server and client. Okay, so we have for this practice session we have already created one server. We're just going to create one more client. We can create 2 client, but let's say for example, even if you practice with 1 client, it means the same thing, is the same thing working with as many number of client. Now logically you have to understand the new client which we are making it, you have to remember that both the client is somehow connected to a switch, meaning they are connected internally. Okay, so to create another virtual machine for Windows 7, which is going to act like a client, similar things you have to do. Go and click on new. So now you can give a name for your client machine. Now the easiest thing what you can do is you can give the name as client 1, client 2, or whatever. Okay, any name you can give it. Now since we are installing Windows 7, here we have an image file. If you see this one, and this is again 64-bit. Now 64 and 32 both together are there. So meaning if installing Windows 7 and if it shows you 32-bit only, then you click on 32-bit. If they give you both the option, go for 64-bit, and then next. Now again it shows you that 8 GB RAM is there in your computer and how much you want to allocate for your virtual machine. Now out of 8 GB we have allocated 2 GB in the server. Okay, so generally client doesn't require much, so either you can allocate from 512 to 1 GB. Okay, so let's keep it as for good performance, let's take it at 1024. You can increase it from here. Okay, so that means if simultaneously both are running, that means 2 GB plus 1 GB, 3 GB will be occupied from this, will be occupied with these 2 virtual machines, and the rest memory will be used for by your own system. Okay, and after this click on next. Don't do anything to this, is the same thing as what we did last time. Next, dynamically allocated, next, and again they're showing you that for this virtual drive, for this virtual machine, again they're going to make a hard drive as 25 GB, which is fine. So saying create, and things is ready. Now to do the basic setting in this client, go and click on setting. Okay, and as we said, you can change the name and all these things. You don't need to do anything in system. You can change the RAM, which is fine, and the booting order is from optical drive, floppy drive. Now there's no floppy drive, you can get rid of this, but then even if it's there, is nothing going to have any problem, so just leave it. The main setting what I told you earlier is going to be concerned with storage, meaning that if you want to install Windows 7, so you need to if you're going to install from this image file, you need to link this image file to this CD-ROM as what we told you last time. So click here on the CD-ROM, click here, and now what they says here is choose virtual optical disk file. Now this one is linked with the first virtual machine. Okay, so now we're going to link another one. So say choose this one, and you should know where your Windows 7, my Windows 7 is in desktop, so you go to desktop, Windows 7, and just click on it. So now this file is linked to the CD-ROM, meaning that if you start the installation, Windows 7 will be installed here. And another important setting that need to be done is called network, and this will be internal network, because we make sure that these two is internally connected. So make it internal network and say OK. So once you've done this, basic setting is done, your virtual machine is ready. Now it's ready for installation of Windows 7. So since you have linked this image file to this client, meaning indirectly you have to understand that this CD is now inside this computer. So to start the installation process, you just simply have to click on start. And once you say start, you can think as says. Now as I told you, sometime the moment you start, they will say the line will come up, press any key to continue. So you click it for the first time to start the installation, and once installation starts, so you're going to get these following screens. And as similar what we have done in the server, installation of server, you're going to get the same window like this. So you change your time and currency format to United Kingdom, next, accept the license, say next, and again they're showing you 25 GB is allocated here. Now if you want to use this whole thing as a single drive, you just simply say next. If you want to make 2 partition, 3 partition in this, you can go to drive options and you can create a partition here, which is showed you up. Now since this is unallocated, this thing is inactive. Once you make an allocations, then this will become active. But let's say you want to install in this as a single drive, just say next. It'll create the partition and it will start the installation process automatic. Now this process again is going to take 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or even is going to take 30 minutes depending on processing power of your machines and depending on what kind of hard drive you have. If you have SSD, it's just going to take 5 minutes to maximum 10 minutes. So you need to wait till the whole process completes. After completing this whole process, the machine will restart itself and will come into the next screen. So we'll start the discussion in that next screen. So once the installation process finishes, like it is going to reboot 1 or 2 times, and then the window is going to come something like this, and they're asking you a username. So just give any name right now, as your name or anything. I'm giving my name as Amjad, and say next. Now they're asking you give your password for this user account. You can, but let's say I'm not giving it, because you know what, every time I have to give password to log in, so there's no need of giving password here. But of course you need to give your password in your server, which we did earlier. But this is okay, because it's going to, you know, like for giving a practice, I think this is going to annoy you by every time you have to get into the password to log in. So just let's ignore and just say next. Now they're asking you the product key here. Now since somehow this has been activated, so untick this and say skip. Okay, so make sure you untick this and say skip. Okay, and now we don't need we're going to do any update, because we're just installing this just for the practicing the syllabus of your server management. So let's say you just click ask me later, and we'll start the finalizing process. So once this is done, your Windows 7 is almost ready now. Okay, so now hope you remember the way after installing Windows Server. Okay, we did some basic setting like setting an IP address, changing the server name. In a similar way, we're going to do the same two things in Windows 7, so that this client will be ready to be joined to this server, which regarding joining the client to the server, we're going to teach you and we're going to show you in the next video. But once this completes, so we're going to do that two basic setting which we said, setting an IP address and changing the client computer name to finalize the installation process. I think it's taking a bit of longer time, but normally again it depends on what your computer power. So there is done. Is almost preparing the desktop for me. Yeah, there. So once window 7 is started off, so two things you need to do, which we said it to you, is to set an IP address to this, and we're going to change this client name of this computer name client. Now don't get confused with this one. This client name is the name which we are given is the virtual machine, but inside this operating system give a name to this client which we're going to change it as client or something else. Now if they see, now again it's restarted, and if you see like this, press any key to something, don't press any key because installation has already been done. Normally you need to press that key when you do the first installation. So after that, whenever it shows you press any key, don't press any key, otherwise the installation process it starts again. Now if you want to get rid of that, okay, you normally if you don't want to see that press any key options, what you normally do is come to client, go to setting, come to storage, and you know the file image is still linked there. After the installation, the file is still linked. So what you can do is just remove the link. How would you do it? Click here, come up here, and just say remove disk from virtual drive. So it's going to remove from there, and next time I don't think so he's going to show you something like this. You can even check in the server side, go to storage, click here, click there, and just say remove disk from virtual drive. So there's nothing there. So next time they won't ask you press any key, it'll directly boot up from there. Anyhow, let's go in this one. Now normally you remember in the Windows Server, initial configuration window comes where it becomes easier to change the computer name and to give an IP address, but here there's now such screen will come up. So how do you set IP address to this computer? Okay, it's like this. If you can see this networking stuff, this icon, so right click on it and say open network and sharing center. Okay, right click on this, open network and sharing centers. So once you come here, you click on change adapter setting, and see you come up to this your main adapter. So right click on this adapter, say properties, and there you go. It's similar what you did in Windows Server now. So I don't want IPv version 6, I need only 4. So untick this and then click here, come to properties, and there you can give an IP address. Okay, so here now this IP address you're giving it for the client. So let's say give same IP address which belongs to the same network as your server. So let's give as 192.168, and we remember in the server we gave address as 192.168.1. Sorry, nums lock is off. 192.168.1, and in the server we get 254 we gave them. So what we can do is here, let's for the client, let's take it as 100. or something in the same networking. So subnet mask will be same. Now for all these clients, since this client we are making it to make it join to the server, okay, I mean this client is going to join to the server, so that means this server will be the gateway. Okay, so this client is going to join the server will be the gateway. So that means in default gateway you need to give the IP address of the server. Now hope you remember we gave IP address 192.168.1.254. So whatever IP address you gave to the server, the same IP address is going to be here. And DNS, now we know that DNS is also going to be installed. We haven't done it, but we are planning it to install the DNS in the same server. So that means here the DNS address will be same thing. So 192.168.1.254. Now if you have alternative IP address for the DNS, you can give this IP address, and what you need to do is just say, okay, so this is how you set IP address for your client. So you're giving client as 100, and this is the IP address of your server, because this client will be joining the server. That means any signals or any data will be passing from this client to what server. The server will be acting like a gateway. So we know, remember the server address I gave this, so I give it. So if you're giving some other IP address to the server, but just do remember it, the same IP address should be here. Okay, so if you don't give the same IP address what you gave here, the joining process will not be successful. Okay, so you just say okay and close it. So that IP address has been set to your network adapter. Okay, so that IP address has been set. Now if you want to even if you want to confirm it, like how would I check that that IP address has been set to this? The easiest way to check is you go to start, click CMD, okay, and you type ipconfig. And if you set ipconfig, it shows you what is the IP address, what is subnet mask, what is the default gateway, and other relevant details you can find it. Similar thing you can do in a server also. So, well, we have done the IP address setting, and the only next thing what we need to do is we are going to change this computer name. Okay, so how do you change the computer name? You can go to start, come to computer, right click on it and say properties. So once you come to the properties, you can see that the computer name is something the rain is given by, I don't know how the name came up, but anyhow it might be different in different Windows 7. So you go to say change setting and click here in change, and you can change the computer name. Okay, so let's give the this name as client 1 or client 2. So if you're installing 2-3 client, you can give a name client 1. Okay, now this client is going to join the server. Okay, so this will be member of domain, but we haven't created any domain in the server till now. Okay, so we're going to show you in the next video how do you create a domain in the server, and then you need to click here and you need to give the domain name in order to join the client to this thing, to the server. But for time being now, we're just showing you how to change the computer name. So you're just going to give here and just say, and let it be this one as it is, and you say okay. Now once you say okay, they will ask you to restart the machine. Say okay, okay, close it. You can do it later also, okay, or you can restart it now. So once you restart now, well, you have almost done the installation of Windows 7, and see now this time they won't give you an option here, press any key, because you have removed that image from the CD-ROM. So your Windows 7 is already installed. You have done the basic configuration, like how to change the IP address, how to change the inside the computer name. Okay, now in the next video we're going to teach you is how to install ADDS, DNS. Okay, we're going to create some user account, and we're going to join this client to the server. so that it can form a client server architecture. Now if you can go again back, and you can go in computer, right click, properties, and you can see that now this one, the computer name has changed to client. Okay, so that means now this computer is now known as client. Okay, this is known as client. Now, so now in the next video we're going to show you is in the server we're going to load some roles like ADDS, DNS, and we're going to create some user account, and then we're going to join this client to the server. So that's it for this video, and just to show you for practicing session. Now if you want to close down this Windows 7, you can go to start and you can do shutdown. But I'll prefer you is, when you do want to do the shutdown, you can even shut down from here. I mean, you're not completing shutdown. You click here, and they ask you something like save the machine state, or power off the machine, or send the shutdown signals. Now what does it mean is, if you click on this save the machine state, meaning it's going to close the machine, but it's going to close exactly at this point. So next time when you start, it will start at this point. So this is quite good. Is good, when you want to practice, and when you want to restart at this point. So if you don't want the machine to reboot again and take times, so it's better to go for this one. Now if you want to do normal shutdown, you can go for this one, but don't try to do this one unless if you see that the system, this virtual machine is frozen, like it's not working, nothing is working on. So then you can go on this one, and you can go for power of the machine, which is normally, it's called hard reset. Sorry, it's sort of hard reset. So for this one, you can just say save the machine state and say okay, and you can see they're going to save the machine state like this, and it has closed down the thing. So see, there's a difference. This is shows you powered off, meaning it has been powered off completely, and this one has not been powered off, but it has been saved at this point, and this one is totally closed, right? So that's it for this video. In the next video we're going to learn how to install ADDS, DNS in the server, and how to create some user account for the client. Okay, so you can create a user account, administrative account. So we're going to learn in the next video. Anyhow, for time being, this is enough for this video.